Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel, and that's right, we're finally here. It is time for Retro Wrestling Rewind, where I am going to regale you with tales of wrestling shows of old. I've got notes here from the show, and this is how it's going to work. I am going to just run you through the entire event from start to finish. Every segment, every match, every interview, every moment that I think is necessary to mention, I will mention. Every match will get a star rating. I'm not Dave Meltzer. I'm not going to do 7.25 stars. I'm not going to do -3. I'm only going to go from 0 to 5, and I will include half stars, but not quarter stars. So if something's definitely a 3-star match, but not quite a 4-star match, maybe I'll give it a 3.5. At the end of every show, I will give the pay-per-view, the show that we covered, a tier listing, whatever. Tier grade, I guess. Which, if you don't know what the tier is, first of all, go check out my VHS tier list. Fantastic video. But secondly, basically I rank a video from S, which is top tier, best show ever, to F, which is absolute gubbins and absolute garbage. And there's no E. It's A, B, C, D, and F, you know, normal grading scale. But for some reason, one day we all added S for top tier. So that is how it's going to go. I'm sorry if I ran through that kind of fast. WrestleMania 6 was a wild show. And that is the show we are covering today, WrestleMania 6. Now, I did promise fun intros and fun outros. I'm not there yet. We're going to start here at the bottom and work our way up to better shows down the line. That is how the show is going to go normally. At the end of every episode, we are going to go over to my dining table or my couch or whatever, and we're going to roll a D20 because I have a list of 20 shows that is always going to rotate and stuff. So I'll roll the D20, and whatever it lands on, that's what we'll do. There are a few numbers on there that won't change. One is episodes of Raw, one is episodes of SmackDown. Now, they're specific episodes right now, and if we land on that, then I'll change the episode for next time. And then 18 is anything from ECW, 19 is anything from TNA. I had a hard time coming up with specific shows from those two. And 20 is Dealer's Choice, considering how important a natural 20 is in Dungeons & Dragons in real life. The only other caveat about this show is that I'm trying not to do shows that Simon Miller has already done for Retro Ups and Downs, so you guys have a little bit of variety. So don't forget to leave comments on this. This was a long intro, and because I want you guys to understand what's going on. I won't do this every time. I've done one video about this already. If you haven't seen that, this is your only other warning. So we'll do the show, start to finish. We'll do stars and all that, give it a tier, and then we'll roll the D20 so you guys will know what to expect next week. I am recording this on the weekend. This should air on Thursday. That's what I'm hoping to air these things is on Thursday. So with all that said, let's jump into WrestleMania 6. This took place in April of 1990, a little over a year before I was born. So how about that? And I chose this show because of the match, the Ultimate Challenge, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. If you know, you know. If you don't know, they're the two biggest stars of the 80s and early 90s anyway. And Vince McMahon finally decided to try something else. Instead of just putting Hulk Hogan over again and again and again and again, he actually managed to convince Hulk Hogan to lose. And if you know, again, if you know about Hulk Hogan's backstage politicking, that's a pretty big surprise. Now, we'll get to the match itself, but the Ultimate Warrior was easily just as over as Hulk Hogan. However, the title reign didn't really work. What the aftermath of WrestleMania 6 is definitely interesting to watch as the fans decided, you know what, we like Warrior, but he's just not Hogan. So we have a lot to get to. Like I said, this is like 4 pages, and I've got, 2 sides there. So first things first, the opening of WrestleMania 6 is just hilarious to me. It's a bunch of constellations and Vince McMahon talking about how there's forces greater than us and beyond our wildest imaginations. But of course, none are more powerful than Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. I thought that was fantastic. America the Beautiful got sang. I don't know by who. I don't care. I've never cared. And I wrote here that, well, typed, I guess, that I wanted to point out that there were 67,000 plus people at this WrestleMania. That's huge for an early WrestleMania because they just kind of did whatever back then. We're all used to stadiums now, but at one point we were just in arenas, right? A little bit of 20, 30,000 people maybe. But to have 67,000 at this one was great. It made for a great atmosphere for sure. The first match was Coco Beware versus the model Rick Martel. Now, these are two characters that I remember fairly well. mostly because I went back and watched their stuff growing up. I'm only 34. These guys mostly wrestled in the 80s and early 90s when I was but a fetus. And this is just not great. It's fine. Coco, I wrote here, and I'm going to look at my notes a lot. I apologize for that. I don't have everything memorized. I guess I could have it like hanging in front of me. But he does do a couple of springboards throughout the matchup, which, again, you have to remember this is 1990. While I'm recording this video and watching it in 2026, if you ground yourself in 1990, that's huge. Big cross-body blocks, lots... I don't want to say lots of back and forth. This is a short match. And one of the biggest problems with WrestleMania 6 is that every single match, except the main event, is pretty short. And even the longer matches still don't feel like they're long enough because they wanted to put 13 matches into one show. That's why the show is 3 hours and 20 minutes. I think it's just over that, actually, like 3:22. So this match goes pretty short. There's not much else to tell you. Like I said, the springboards, but Rick Martel ends up putting him in a Boston Crab, and he taps out. Rick Martel didn't even work over his legs, his back, his arms, his face, nothing. Excuse me, there was no working over any body parts. They just went in, fought for a bit, and then they left. So Rick Martel wins. I wrote in all caps, don't bring pets to matches, because Coco Beware, of course, had a bird, because Coco, anyway, he had a bird with him. It was like a parrot or something. Honestly, didn't notice. All I did notice was that it was freaking out the entire time. I don't know why wrestling does this. You can bring your pets to matches. Remember when Cody Rhodes brought Pharaoh to AEW and they had this beautiful dog just stand on the stage while Pyro went off and it was clearly scared to death? Let's not do that anymore. So this was fine. It was fine. It wasn't great and it was too short, which is why I gave it 2.5 stars, because I don't want to say it was bad. I don't think it was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just too short. And again, Coco Beware lost from a Boston Crab, but there was no build to the Boston Crab. Maybe it was Rick Martel's finisher and I'm an idiot. I don't know. We'll find out. After this, we had some interviews for the tag team title match that was coming up. It was going to be the Colossal Connection, Andre the Giant, and Haku taking on Demolition. The Colossal Connection was first, and Mean Gene Okerlund is one of the most unprofessional men in history because he's always an asshole to heels. He called them the Colostomy Connection. Bobby the Brain Heenan was managing Andre and Haku, and if you know about Bobby the Brain Heenan, you know he's incredible. If you don't know about Bobby the Brain Heenan, change that today. Even though this is nothing, the way he takes what Mean Gene says and turns it into this just great thing about flushing them down the pipes or whatever, it's fantastic. I miss Bobby Heenan. He's great all the time, pretty much. He wasn't on commentary on this show. That was Monsoon and Ventura. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura. We'll talk about them a little later. But next, Demolition's interview is hilarious because all they do is scream into the microphone and plan homicides. Both of them should have been arrested and sent to jail. No tag team title match for you. Because, what I write, Axe said he wants to shear off Andre's limbs. Now, he's saying he's like a tree, but he's like, I'm going to shear off all your limbs. And then Smash, this is 100% what he said. I don't remember exactly, obviously. I didn't write the exact quote down. But I think he said something along the lines of he wants to put them in the back of a truck and then drive that truck off of a cliff. What is wrong with Demolition and why aren't they in jail? So, obviously, the next matchup is Demolition and the Colossal Connection for the tag team titles. What was really funny about this is that Andre and Haku, the tag team champions, are just standing in the ring after the interviews. Meaning, obviously, the interviews were pre-taped. But they're the tag team champions, but screw them, they don't get an entrance. I think 1990 was about when Andre was starting to get just to his whatever the hell it's called. I'm so sorry. I should have looked it up and wrote it down. But he was starting to have a harder time moving around the ring, so they probably just pushed him out there as quickly as possible during the interviews. Demolition are big fan favorites. They get jumped, but Demolition is really good at the constant tagging in and tagging out. Let's see. I don't want to just be looking at a paper this entire time, so I'm trying to look over. But, I have notes, so I got to look at them. But I wrote, basically, Smash is in the match, and he keeps getting smashed. He just keeps getting his ass kicked by Andre and Haku. He keeps getting headbutted, choked with the tag rope, which again, why isn't that a disqualification? It just isn't. And then eventually Axe gets the hot tag. There's a big brawl, and then Haku accidentally super kicks Andre, and then a bunch of double team moves. Then Demolition do their backbreaker elbow drop combo, where he does like a second rope elbow drop. It's a cool double team move. I've used it in a bunch of 2K games in the past. And Demolition become the new tag team champions. Huge reaction from this crowd. Like, the crowd really makes this show for me. When we get to the tier listing at the very end, the overall grade, the crowd had a lot to do with it. They are so loud for everything any babyface does on this show. They super love Demolition. They're the new tag team champions. This is something that I, for some reason, remember moment for moment, and that's after this match. And maybe it's just one of those things that sticks out. But Bobby Heenan gets into Andre's face and slaps him. Andre goes to punch Bobby Heenan, misses by like this much. Like, he just kind of... But Heenan sells it. Then he does hit him a few times. He actually does kind of paintbrush Heenan a bit before beating up Haku. And then when Haku and Heenan try to run away, Andre throws them off of the ring. For those of you who remember, if you don't, way back in the day, in the 80s and early 90s, at big shows, wrestlers would stand in this ring that was really tiny but was on wheels, and it would like drive them to the ring. It was actually kind of cool. But Andre gets back in that. He's turned on Heenan. Again, huge reaction from the crowd when Andre turns on Bobby Heenan. Heenan sells all this perfectly. It's really good. This was a good match. The crowd was really into it. Again, it's 1990, so you may not enjoy it as much as I do, but I love old school wrestling. I gave this match 3 stars. It was fun, and the crowd made it fun, and a title change is always a good idea at WrestleMania, so 3 stars for the World Tag Team title match and the title change. Next up, we interview Earthquake. And basically, the entire time, Jimmy Hart, who, again, fantastic manager, he's very much missed, just keeps making puns about earthquakes. That's all he does. And Earthquake is just jumping around like this, like he thinks he's The Rock in 2000. What the hell was up with Earthquake? I'm not joking either. The entire interview, he is just bouncing up and down. And when he does talk, I didn't hear a word he said, because I was laughing at how much he was jumping. And when he was talking, it's 1990, trust me. All he does is scream, and he jumps even harder, like he's actually trying to cause the room to shake. It is absolutely hilarious, as is the next sentence that gets to come out of my mouth, because at WrestleMania 6, we get a match between Earthquake and Hercules. What are we doing in 1990? I even wrote, yes, this is a real match that happened. Early on, Earthquake runs at Hercules, who moves as if he's played Arkham Asylum before. So Earthquake just runs into the turnbuckle. There's a good test of strength spot, which I do miss test of strength spots. We don't do them anymore. And I don't know why. They're really fun. Crowds always get into them. However, this is where an entire match feels kind of slow. Now, I don't know what I expected. It is Earthquake. It is Hercules. It's 2 massive men. And they're just kind of moving around, doing what they can. I didn't really write anything else because all I can tell you is how it finished, which is basically Earthquake slams him down or something like that. He hits the ropes a couple of times and hits like a seated senton and wins. Excuse me. He also hits another one afterwards, so I guess he's the heel. I don't really know. I think Hercules was the babyface. I think he did get a pretty good reaction. But also, during the match or during Earthquake's entrance, Gorilla Monsoon just happens to mention that he has sent 28 people to the hospital. Why would you let someone wrestle who sent almost 30 people to the hospital? 29 after this, I guess, to the hospital. Wrestling makes no sense. I allowed myself to give this match 2 stars. I didn't want to be too harsh. They did what they could. Again, the fans are really into it. Earthquake is hilarious. Again, all the jumping around. And I do like Earthquake. I'm not trying to insult Earthquake or anything. He was a big deal back in those days. And he could run around the ring when he wanted to. But he just kind of didn't do that in this match, except for the ending where he did the seated senton thing. And that move just doesn't ever feel believable because you're not actually going to... Well, it did look like he kind of crushed Hercules. But anyway, apparently he sent 28 people to the hospital. That's all I know. So maybe it was 29 after this match was over. As I try to fix the camera because I kicked the stand a little bit there. After this, we had an completely useless interview with Miss Elizabeth. I don't know who was doing the interviewing duties. Maybe someone can tell me. I could have just looked it up, but I didn't feel like it. She's some really, really short chick who was apparently famous, who talked like this. You probably can't hear what I'm saying. This is how she talked, even though there was a microphone on her chest. I couldn't hear a fucking word she was saying. But apparently she's asking where Miss Elizabeth has been. And Miss Elizabeth is like, well, I can't do much at ringside, so I haven't been at ringside. And I'm like, okay, you are full of it. So let's just move on. We get an interview with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. We get an interview with Brutus Beefcake, and he looks at Mr. Perfect's record is on a sheet of paper, I guess. Sean Mooney is doing the interviewing duties. I forgot to mention that. Sean Mooney and Mean Gene Okerlund are doing most of the interviews throughout the show. Miss Sean Mooney, love Sean Mooney. But Brutus Beefcake takes those massive scissors, they're like this big, if you don't know, and just starts cutting at the papers as Sean Mooney is holding them. It's like, are you trying to cut off Sean Mooney's fingers, dude? I thought you were supposed to be a good guy. But yeah, it's nonsense. He just shouts and cuts, and it's weird. So we get a match, obviously, between Mr. Perfect and Brutus Beefcake. Mr. Perfect is managed by the Genius. The start was a little weird. Not slow. I was going to say slow, but it was awkward. It's like they both went to start the match, forgot what they had planned to do for the opening of the contest, and just kind of fumbled for a second. It was weird, but it got going. Mr. Perfect keeps going, flying over the top rope after punches and atomic drops, which, again, is hilarious. A punch sending someone over the top rope will always make me laugh. But Mr. Perfect, let's see. Oh, he sells a turnbuckle throw with a flip. Like, he gets thrown into the turnbuckle and then does a front flip. He's such a good seller that even though that was goofy, I enjoyed it. I enjoy goofiness in wrestling, if you don't know already. But there was a distraction, Mr. Genius. The Genius distracts the referee. Mr. Perfect takes this, like, scroll. It looks like a scroll that the Genius had been holding. I guess it's made of metal or steel. He whacks Brutus the Barber Beefcake with it. He hits a seated blockbuster, but only gets a 2 count. Again, it's a little slow, but I wrote in this section that we have to remember that this is just the style for 1990. Back then, wrestling was just a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical. That's just how it is. Eventually, Brutus Beefcake slingshots Mr. Perfect into the turnbuckle. So, yeah, he grabs him by his legs and slingshots him into the turnbuckle. Mr. Perfect goes flying into the steel, falls to the ground, and Brutus Beefcake just wins. I laughed out loud. I was like, are you kidding me? This is Mr. Perfect, and he wins by getting whacked in the head. Absolutely hilarious. Afterwards, Brutus put the Genius into a sleeper and starts cutting at the Genius's hair. Again, the crowd was super into it. I wrote that in here. I wanted to make sure I got that across to you guys. The crowd really does make this show worth watching. However, this was just not it for me. Mr. Perfect is one of the best wrestlers of all time. Even though, Mr. Perfect, it sounds like a ignorant name, he really did live up to it. And Brutus Beefcake, regardless of how goofy and ridiculous the character is, could carry himself in a match. This was fine, but it was also absolutely nothing. And again, the ending. All Mr. Perfect did was go donk, and apparently he was knocked out. I gave it 2.5 stars. I didn't want to be too harsh, considering who was all in it, even though there was a bunch of silliness. I feel like 2.5 is fair enough. So at this point in the viewing, I'm watching it on YouTube, and we cut to the Bolsheviks in the back, and I thought that was just what was next. I was just keeping along, chugging along, enjoying myself, writing notes. However, when I was doing my research about other people's reactions to this, I kept finding a match that I didn't see. I was like, did I fall asleep? Did I skip forward? What happened? Then I did my research a little bit deeper and figured it out. Apparently, this is where Rowdy Roddy Piper took on Bad News Brown. There's a reason this match has been removed from the YouTube video, meaning that this show was even longer. It's probably more like 3.5 hours. I think this match went about 8 minutes. So yeah, a little over 3.5 hours. For those of you who don't know, this is the match where Roddy Piper infamously painted half his body black, including his face, meaning he wasn't half blackface. Therefore, I did not go out of my way to find it. I know that in the years past, Roddy Piper said that he didn't do that as a racist thing. He did it as a way to unite the races, half white, half black. Why can't we all be together? That doesn't matter. If you are not a person of color, you do not get to decide if that is offensive or not. And clearly, many people found it offensive. It is half blackface. No matter what you or I or they or them or this or that thinks, we don't get a say. I don't get a say. I am extremely color redacted. I do not get a say. Therefore, I did not find this match. I completely checked out. I skipped it. I looked it up. I guess it was a brawl, and it ended in a double countout. Don't worry, we are not done talking about countouts. No stars. I'm not going to do a non-rating. Don't worry, we have one of those coming in just a few moments, actually. But 0 stars for this. I don't care what you think. I don't even care what I think. Roddy Piper is a great wrestler. Bad News Brown is a great wrestler. This was categorically the wrong decision by Roddy Piper. Therefore, we're just going to skip over it. No stars. Moving on. Although, now we're going to move on, and now we're going to laugh a bunch again, because for some reason, we cut to the showers. We cut to the showers in the back of the arena, and Steve Allen, who I've never heard of in my life and didn't do my research, is some piano player, some artist, is in there with them. He's got this massive piano in the showers with the Bolsheviks, who are Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov, whatever. I wrote Zukov. I actually don't know if that's right or not. And he wants them, or they want him to play the Russian national anthem. He keeps playing goofy songs like the Camptown Ladies or something. I don't think he actually played that, but he just keeps playing nonsense and not the Russian national anthem and keeps going, oh, I know, he's trying to be funny. It's not funny. It's just kind of wasting time, in my opinion. And eventually a toilet flushes. Everybody freaks out. Steve Allen leaves and the segment was over. I don't understand what happened. I wrote, what the fuck? I literally wrote the phrase, what the fuck? Because I was so confused. But next up, we get the Hart Foundation versus the Bolsheviks. So it's Bret the Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart taking on Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov. They're in Canada. I know I didn't mention that until now, but there's a reason I didn't bring it up. They're in Canada. This is a tag team match. I guess the Hart Foundation are the #1 contenders for the tag team titles. Like, that's a future match. Them against whoever the tag champs are, which, of course, as of now, are Demolition. The Bolsheviks want to perform the Russian national anthem like they did. In the background, while they're trying to get started, they are getting started, you can see Jim Neidhart getting upset. The Hart Foundation then jumps them, which is, again, kind of a dick move when you think about it. They just want to sing their anthem. They get rid of Zukov, I believe. No, they get rid of Nikolai Volkov. They throw him out of the ring. The bell rings during the sneak attack, by the way, which, what kind of referee does that? They get rid of Volkov. They attack Zukov. They hit the heart attack, and the referee counts the 3, meaning that this match went, and I timed it, 19 seconds. This is why I brought up that they're in Canada now, because Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart in Canada could only have a match that went less than 20 seconds. I don't understand. If you want to go back on and remember that before Triple H took over, that Vince McMahon just loved to ruin people's momentum in their hometowns, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Bret does sell this fantastically. Look at his face. He's clearly pissed off. But the fans do erupt. It is fun to have something like this on a WrestleMania. Because what else are you going to do, right? Might as well do something fun if you're not going to have a big match. So, why not? But still, I didn't give this any rating. What was I supposed to rate it? It went 19 seconds from bell to bell. The entrances and the crap with Steve Allen and all that took, I don't know, 3 or 4 times as long as the match actually did. So, no rating for this absolute farce of a tag team match. We get a promotion for WrestleMania 7 now. It's just Vince McMahon screaming at the top of his lungs about where they're going to do it, which is at the LA Coliseum. And fun fact, I made sure to put this in here, that takes place March 24th, 1991. 2 months later, May 24th, 1991, JT is born. So I have WrestleMania 7 on my list for a WrestleMania we'll do one day. I'd love to check that out. Up next, the Barbarian comes out. No music. He's being managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan again. We have an interview with his opponent, Tito Santana, who I've always liked. I've always thought Tito Santana was incredibly underrated. Go watch some of his work. He's fantastic. He kind of puts over the Barbarian, which we haven't seen in any other interview so far, which is good. That's what you're supposed to do. I trained for a while, and you're always told when you're doing an interview, put your opponent over, but then make sure you tell them that you're going to be able to beat them. He does that, yells Arriba. It's fine. It's an interview with Tito Santana. Another pretty short matchup here. It's speed versus strength. Barbarian's supposed to be this big tough guy while Tito runs around, even though Tito is almost the exact same size as Barbarian because it is 1990. There are some drop kicks, second row axe handles. We get a flying forearm. Bobby the Brain Heenan gets involved with, so it's a 2 count. Then the Barbarian just hits, again, I don't mean to rush through these matches, but not much happens. Like, they're only a few minutes long. The Barbarian hits is it top rope? Yeah. He hits a flying clothesline from the top rope, which for Barbarian size actually looks pretty cool. Gets the 3 count. It's fine, but again, it's really short, and that's the biggest problem, is that some of these matches, Tito and the Barbarian, if they got a few more minutes, they were actually going, But Barbarian wins with a flying clothesline, which you'll never see in 2026. I gave it 2 stars. Again, absolutely fine, but it's kind of whatever. We get a promo package for the next matchup, which is Dusty Rhodes and Sapphire versus the Macho King, which is Randy Savage, and Sherry Martel. This is, for me, it felt pretty unique for the time period. You don't get a whole lot of intergender mixed tag stuff in the late 80s and early 90s, but this was really over. We get a Dusty Rhodes promo with Sapphire. What do you want from me? I am never going to sit here and try to recount a Dusty Rhodes promo, no matter how much someone could pay me to do it. I'd take the money and run. And then also I wrote down that Sapphire was also bouncing around like crazy, couldn't stop moving, much like Earthquake. We then get this match, and I made sure to point out that the entire time you see Dusty Rhodes in his polka dot gear, and never ever forget, and I'm going to remind you about this as often as I can whenever Dusty comes up in a WWF show, the reason he was putting the polka dots, the reason he was given this common man gimmick and the dancing and crap is because Vince McMahon wanted to humiliate him because he was one of his biggest competitors as far as wrestlers go. Sorry about that. But anyway, it didn't work. He became super popular. He ran with the gimmick. He cuts a promo and announces, let's see. Oh yeah, he brings out Miss Elizabeth. We had an interview earlier saying that Miss Elizabeth wasn't around because she doesn't feel like she should be at ringside, but maybe she'll be back soon, and here she is at WrestleMania 6. Again, that whole 2 minutes or whatever from that interview from earlier was a gigantic waste of my and your time because you had to hear me talk about it. Macho Man and Sherry are great heels. They keep just getting thrown into each other. Sapphire, one of the downsides to this is that Sapphire is clearly not a wrestler. She was just kind of put in this position with Dusty. Maybe it was his real life wife. I'm sorry that I don't know that for sure. But she is doing her best. She is having a good time. The fans are super into it. It's the best part about this is every time Randy Savage and Dusty Rhodes are in the ring together. They're 2 of the best to ever do it. They're both super over the top, super fun. They love to just have a good time, I guess. It sounds stupid, but when you see it in action, it's great. There's lots of axe handles to the floor from Randy Savage, and he's doing them from the top turnbuckle, which again, sounds like nothing, but in 1990, people just weren't diving off the top rope to the floor. It's just not a thing that was happening. Let's see. Oh yeah. So we're told that only the women can fight the women and the men can fight the men. It's a mixed tag match, intergender tag, whatever you want to call it. But for some reason, the referee tries to count a pin when Sherry pins Dusty Rhodes. I don't know. Rules don't matter in WWF. Everybody gets in the ring at one point, including Miss Elizabeth. The match ends. This is such a dumb finish. When, I want to make sure I say this right. Miss Elizabeth pushes Sherry, who falls over Sapphire. Like Sapphire's on her hands and knees. Miss Elizabeth pushes Sherry. She kind of trips over Sapphire, and Sapphire pins her for the 1, 2, 3. Goofy and dumb. Crowd is so into it, though. They love Miss Elizabeth. They love Sapphire. They love Dusty Rhodes. The 3 of them all dance to Dusty Rhodes' Common Man theme, which is hilarious because Miss Elizabeth is wearing like a female tuck skirt combo thing, suit, pant. I don't even know how to describe it. And she looks really uncomfortable trying to dance in it. I don't mean to say that's funny, but it is funny when you watch it from a perspective of they're all supposed to be having fun, but Miss Elizabeth is clearly just uncomfortable. So, as much as I enjoyed this, as much as the crowd enjoyed it, I only gave it 2 stars. It's still all over the place and goof, and the finish really just ruins it. It's just like, it's not even funny at this point. It's just, what do you mean you pushed her and pinned her? It's the 90s. Dusty Rhodes gets over, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to stick by my rating because, again, it's not that it's good, but it's still not a 1-star or a 0-star match. We get another WrestleMania 7 promo, and we get, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections here of segments and interviews and stuff. This is WrestleMania, and we spend the next 15 minutes blah, 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 blah. And some of this stuff you are not going to believe, I promise you, but I wrote it all down. So Mean Gene interviews Bobby the Brain Heenan, and he says that Bobby Heenan's harder to get along with than when your mother-in-law comes for a surprise visit, and that made me laugh. Bobby Heenan was incredible. He goes in about Andre the Giant, and I think this promo was pretty famous because Bobby Heenan forgot his lines, and Mean Gene gets onto his case for stuttering or not talking, and Bobby Heenan just impromptu cuts an incredible promo, super impassioned. He's clearly mad at himself for forgetting his lines, but that just adds to this. Excuse me. There may have been no one better at being a manager than Bobby the Brain Heenan. The only person that comes close to me, in my opinion, is Paul Heyman. Next up, and again, I have to tell you this because if I don't, then you're going to be like, why did you leave that out? Monsoon and Ventura, they're interviewing that short, quiet woman from earlier. And I couldn't hear most of it because she was so quiet. But basically, she insinuates that she went out there and found out, and I apologize, if there's any children watching, cover your ears, but they insinuate that Jesse Ventura was in a porno. Why? This goes on for about 8 seconds, and you have to watch it if you're trying to watch the whole show and make a review. Who is this for? Why are we doing this? We cut to Macho Man and Sherry. Sherry is just screaming in the background while Macho Man Randy Savage cuts a promo. Again, you don't want me to recount that. Go watch it. It's too good. One of those people that will never be mimicked ever again. We have an interview with Demolition as new tag team champs. Axe just screams the finish at you. I don't know why. He just tells you what happened, but he screams it, of course. And then Smash says that they're 3-time champions and they're going to face Heart Foundation. It's fine. They just scream a bunch. It's 1990. We then go to Hulk Hogan and then the Ultimate Warrior. And I have to make sure you know that we're going from one to the other. Hulk Hogan is first. He's doing the whole, you know something, Mean Gene, and brother, yada, yada, yada. I literally wrote, it's Hulk Hogan. What do you want me to do? You know what he says. You know how Hulk Hogan is. He said he's going to... He says, I'm going to get the Warrior on his knees and ask him if he wants to live forever. You do with that whatever you want. And make him breathe his last breath. And then I wrote, don't do drugs. Also, super scary considering what the Ultimate Warrior's final words were on Monday Night Raw in 2014. But yeah, just... Oh, and he says, I'm going to have him breathe his last breath into my body. Again, for the love of God, don't do drugs. Then we go to the Ultimate Warrior, who's being interviewed by Sean Mooney. And the first thing he does is go, you need to get out of here because you don't deserve to breathe the same air as me and the Hulkster. I'm like, what an asshole. Why? I don't remember the Ultimate Warrior being an asshole. I know he's a loon, but a jerk? Never. But yeah, he just screams as well. That's all anybody ever does in 1990. He keeps calling Hulk Hogan Hulk Hogan. He doesn't pronounce the L. And he says it 68,000 times. He just Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan. He has to start every sentence with Hulk Hogan. Again, absolutely hilarious. It is just a little bit behind or lesser than what Warrior usually does. He doesn't scream about skeletons and rockets and asses and ghosts and all that. But he does just keep saying Hulk Hogan, which is hilarious. I wrote, it doesn't make a lick of sense. It didn't. We then move into a match between Tanaka and Sato against the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels. For those of you who've been watching wrestling since the 2000s or the 90s, you know who Shawn Michaels is. You may not know how long Shawn Michaels was in WWE, but yes, he was part of a tag team with Marty Jannetty. They're just incredible here. I wrote that I wasn't pumped for this match, but I was interested in it for sure. This is going to be a unique match. Lots of double teams at the beginning, double dives from the Rockers. The crowd lose their mind. Could you imagine if you took someone from 1990 and plopped them in 2026? They'd probably have a heart attack. They wouldn't be able to believe how many dives are in one show, and they couldn't get over a double dive in one match. Mr. Fuji keeps getting involved. There's a cool spot where Marty Jannetty gets back body dropped and lands on his feet. Again, for the time, just a huge reaction for it. There's double super kicks. I guess the Young Bucks had to get it from somewhere, didn't they? Super kick party must have started in 1990. Marty Jannetty gets the salt. So, again, something you may not know is that Mr. Fuji used to always throw salt in people's eyes. I guess that's really effective. He throws salt into Marty Jannetty's eyes, and his reaction is to completely oversell it and fall into the front row. So, congratulations if you're a wrestling fan in the front row at WrestleMania 6. You're getting Marty Jannetty sweat all over you. And not only did he fall into the front row, he gets counted out. Booyaka. 2 countouts on WrestleMania 6. And go ahead and let me know in the comments if you think we're done with them. But yeah, it never really got going, and it ends on a whimper. The Orient Express wins. The Rockers were doing great, but this match really feels like it wants to get going, but Vince McMahon won't allow it to get going, and then it just ends on a count out. 1 star. The worst match of the night so far, just because these 4 guys had so much more to give, and we just didn't let it. Steve Allen is back as he interviews Rhythm and Blues, which is Greg the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. Another thing I will try to mention every time he's on one of these shows, his whole thing was, I want to be a professional wrestler, I want to be a champion, I want to win belts and go to WrestleMania, so I think I should be Elvis Presley. Let's see. Steve Allen makes a Pee Wee Herman joke that is apparently so offensive, it gets bleeped. It gets muted on the video I watched. Why are we doing this? It was never okay. Stop being offensive. And yeah, clearly Steve Allen is supposed to be like a comedy guy. I don't know anything about the man. He plays the piano. I guess he sings. But it's just nothing he ever says made me laugh. I was just kind of like, who is this guy? He's super annoying. Kick him off of my television yesterday. Or I guess in 1990. Dino Bravo's in the ring with Jimmy Hart and Earthquake. He's about to face Jim Duggan. It's so funny because Jim Duggan, if you don't know, his whole thing was he was the super American. I know that was Hulk Hogan's gimmick as well, but he comes out with the giant American flag trying to be the babyface in Canada. It goes over about as well as you say it does. People are cheering him. He is over, but the whole American flag thing, he tries to get a USA chant going in Canada. I don't know what he was thinking. Gorilla Monsoon does a great job with pointing out that Earthquake can't have both a wrestler's license and a manager's license, so why is he out there with Dino Bravo? Fantastic. So let me get this match, Dino Bravo versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. There's clotheslines, there's backdrops, there's atomic drops, lots of 1980s moves. So yeah, lots of the same moves over and over again, like clotheslines and big slams and more clotheslines and slams and back body drops, atomic drops, all the 1980s moves. At one point, Dino Bravo tries to use a 2x4 while the referee is distracted. Doesn't work. Hacksaw goes ahead and uses it, which in wrestling is okay if the heel tries to do something, but the babyface does it instead. It's fine. Jim Duggan gets the win, gets the 3. Afterwards, Earthquake kills him. Earthquake hits a bunch of elbow drops and those sentons, so I guess Earthquake sends 30 people to the hospital now. Yeah, I brought trifecta of seated sentons. And it's fine. Again, the match is fine. The aftermath is fine. But honestly, at this point, I'm having a hard time convincing myself that this is WrestleMania. It just kind of feels like a show. But again, it was still early days. Even at WrestleMania 6, they were still figuring out how this was all going to work. It was fine. I gave it 2 stars because, again, it wasn't like a bad match, but it just doesn't feel like a WrestleMania match. We get a promo for Jake Roberts and Ted DiBiase next because they're about to have a match. And DiBiase gets to his ring. Jake Roberts promo, same as always. I'm not going to sit here and repeat it. He talks about humbling DiBiase and how him and Damien remember everything. And never forget, Damien was an actual snake. Real life. This match was really, really good. There is so much going on as far as the DDT is concerned, which again is so hard to get through to a 2026 wrestling fan. The DDT was his finisher. He invented the move and used it to win matches. There's pile drivers. I realize now that I'm a little long-winded, and that may have to change in the future, because if Simon Miller can get through a 3.5, 4-hour show in 25 minutes to 30 minutes, why am I here at 40 minutes? And I've still got 2 more pages. But I'm not going to rush through it either. But there's a lot. This is probably the best match on the show so far. These two are both really good wrestlers. They just keep doing there's just submissions. The crowd is really into this. There's a lot of back and forth. Jake Roberts and Ted DiBiase are both not remembered as fondly as they should be. Like, yes, we all know they were good, but they're better than you remember. He calls for the DDT. Virgil gets involved. $1 Million Dream on the floor. And then they crash into the ring post. And then Virgil throws DiBiase back in the ring. And guess what happens? Jake Roberts gets counted out. So that's 3 countouts at WrestleMania. That really took the air out of the room for me. I was getting into this. I thought this was really fun. But there was the damn countout. Jake beats them up for a while. Gets the snake out. Virgil saves Ted DiBiase from the snake. He chases them away. It's good stuff. It's fine. I did give it 3 stars. I thought this was the best match on the show so far after the tag team match. Again, the countout really does ruin it. You're into it. These are 2 good characters, good wrestlers. But a countout, 3 countouts on WrestleMania 6. Not kosher. We get an interview with Akeem, the African Dream. And all you need to know about Akeem, the African Dream, is that he is whiter than I am. I don't know where this gimmick came from. It's terrible. It's awful. It's offensive. Can we please move forward? Slick is there too. Slick is fine, but this just doesn't work. We get an interview with the Big Boss Man, one of my favorite characters and wrestlers of all time. Ray Traylor was taken way too soon. If he was still alive, he'd probably be one of these legends that still wrestles even though he's older. I loved his theme music, including here. I liked his theme music in the late 90s during the Attitude Era, but his country music, Cobb County, Georgia song was just too much. It was too fun to listen to. He comes out to that. We get this match with Akeem. DiBiase actually shows back up. I didn't see this coming, but apparently he's also feuding with the Big Boss Man over the $1 Million title, something like that. So he jumps the Big Boss Man before the match starts. He slams him on the floor, throws him into the ring post. I'm sorry, I wrote here that the story is actually he wants Boss Man to work for him, so forget what I said. We get the 10 punches in the corner. We get splashes. It's 2 big men. It's a big man match. Even with all the messiness of Akeem's character, a big man match is always going to entertain me just a little bit. But again, kind of short. At some point, Akeem starts running the ropes, and the Boss Man just hits his finisher and wins. Again, it kind of feels like it's out of nowhere. At one point, Boss Man is just throwing him into the turnbuckles over and over again, which, whatever, you know. I gave it 2 stars. WrestleMania, really short. What am I going to do at this point? We then get Sean Mooney in the crowd interviewing children. Absolutely hilarious. About rhythm and blues, getting ready to perform a new song. Again, Greg Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. They then go to interview Mary Tyler Moore, as I ask you to ignore what's happening right here. And it is awkward as hell. She's been shown throughout the show, and obviously she's a huge name. Even I know who Mary Tyler Moore is. I couldn't name a single thing she did. I think she was an actress or a talk show host, some shit like that. Anyways, you can tell she has no interest in being interviewed. I don't know if they told her about the interview and she just was like, or if they didn't tell her about the interview and just bombarded her with questions. But she doesn't care. She's just giving answers to get Sean Mooney to shut the hell up. Then Rhythm and Blues come to the ring and perform a song that's called like a Hunka Honky Love, which is the worst title of a song ever. And believe me, I listened to some garbage. And the backup singers, the girls, are called the Honkettes. There is his jacket says "Welcome to Honky Town" or something. All of this is terrible. The audio breaks when Greg Valentine tries to go sing and can't hear a word he's saying. All the honky stuff is just terrible. And what else? There's something else I wrote on here that was stupid. Oh, Greg Valentine is playing a acoustic guitar. Clearly it's an acoustic guitar, but the audio over the speakers is an electric guitar solo. Just a mess. Absolutely hilarious. Eventually, the Bushwhackers show up and just wreck everything. That's all they do. They just destroy everything, and that's that. This is where they announce the attendance of 67,676, which is a very fun number to say. Again, big number for the time. Very big number for the time. We then get Rick Rude versus Jimmy Snuka. This is the match I got excited about. I was excited about the main event, the whole reason I did this show. But this is the sub-main event, I suppose. And this is just so good. Steve Allen was on commentary for a little bit. Annoying. Hated it every second of it. If I was going to give star ratings to segments, I give Steve Allen negative 16,912 stars. Cannot stand the guy. He's not funny. All of his puns don't make any sense. And he tries to put an inflection in his voice. You're like, oh, hey, oh, it's annoying as hell. Tone-deaf comedy that never lands. That's what I wrote. There's Rude jump Snuka, which I'll admit, almost every heel did some sort of jump tactic during this show. So that was kind of, maybe we do something else next time. And again, I'm not trying to rush this along or anything, but I understand this has gone longer than anybody wanted. But basically, it's Rick Rude and Jimmy Snuka. They're just so good together. Rick Rude keeps doing cheap shots. Snuka just throws him around and does flapjacks and drop kicks and dives. And I made sure to point out that it's much faster paced than anything else on the show with Jimmy Snuka in it, of course it is. But Snuka misses a couple of top rope moves before Rude hits a Rude Awakening, which is just a neck breaker. And he wins, which is cool. It was a good match, right? Again, I feel like I flew through that because I don't need to tell you every beat. I just need to tell you about the matches and the wins and losses and the big moments. This was the best. I thought this was almost the best match on the show. I still enjoyed DiBiase and Jake the Snake more, which is why I gave this 2.5 stars instead of giving it the 3 like I gave DiBiase and Roberts. It's too short, and a neck breaker being a finisher, even in 1990, was just hard to believe, right? I know in 2026, we get 12 neck breakers in a single match, and nobody's neck is broken. It was fine. I'm sticking with 2.5 stars. I do think it was fun. Jimmy Snuka is, I know he's a controversial character nowadays, a controversial man, for reasons that you can just Google, but it was fine. 2.5 stars. It was the last match before the main event. This is where we get the promo package for Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. You see everything from when they accidentally hit each other, when they save each other. You can give WWE, WWF crap all you want, but when they get a storyline right, no one does it better, in my opinion. Even to this day, if they can do a storyline correctly, they will have you hook, line, and sinker. This is the match. This is the main event. Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. They're both champions. Hulk is the WWF champion. Warrior is the Intercontinental champion. It's title for title. It's codenamed or whatever, the Ultimate Challenge. This is where I wrote way too much. Like that big old paragraph and to the side, I wrote way too much. So I am going to try to condense this down a little. It is the most 1980s match you were ever going to see. I understand the Ultimate Warrior was controversial before he made up with WWE, came back, and passed away. I understand what Hulk Hogan did. I did a whole video when he passed away. But no matter what you think about the men, the characters were so over in 1990. This crowd has been hot for 3 hours, and they scream even louder than they have been the rest of the show for this main event. There's tests of strength in here. It does go on for too long. The test of strength goes on for longer than I could, I don't know, some sort of exaggeration. You guys come up with one. I don't have one. I put down that it has its lulls because there's really long submissions. There's like sleeper holds. There's bear hugs. There's just moves that just slow the match down, but the crowd is still really into it, screaming for everybody. He does a double clothesline. Oh, there's a double clothesline spot. After a chin lock. There's a double clothesline spot, and both men take about 47 years to get up. Let's see. I wrote a bad joke in here. I want to make sure I get it out. The fans just keep screaming. They are more into this than I am into Ice Nine Kills. Do you like Ice Nine Kills? There's the bad joke. I got it out. There's a bunch of visual pinfalls for both men, which doesn't make any sense. Like, you want to give a visual pinfall to the person who's losing so they don't look too weak. But the fact that the Warrior also gets a visual pinfall doesn't make any mistakes. They fight outside the ring, and I think Hogan gets another visual pinfall. So Hogan was really not. Vince and Hogan both were like, "Oh, don't make me look weak, brother." Get rid of it all. There's a spot where the Warrior does his splash, and Hulk Hogan kicks out at 2, which made me laugh because we all get mad about it in 2026. This show is what? Let's see. 30, it's over 30 years old. It's like, what, 36 years old? And 36 years ago, people were still kicking out a finisher. So don't blame it on 2026 or AEW. Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior were doing it. Eventually, Hogan goes for the boot. He hits it. He misses a leg drop. And Warrior hits the splash and wins, becomes a world champion. Hulk Hogan does kick out after 3. It's like 1, 2, 3 kick out. So like at 3.2. Because again, you got to protect Hulk Hogan. No, you fucking don't. And the crowd is just going absolutely ballistic. Warrior was over. He wouldn't end up being able to replace Hogan like Vince and company wanted to. But he did get over. The noise is insane. Hogan hands the world title over to Warrior. They hug. And this next scene, I could get framed over my bed for the rest of my life because it has been implanted in my skull for as long as I can remember. Ultimate Warrior holds up both belts. A bunch of bright white pyrotechnics go off behind him. It is a scene for the ages. And I could print it off, have it laminated, and look at it every single day. Even with those long, boring submissions and the test of strength, the crowd is so into this. It's so much fun to watch. It is the best match on the show, in my opinion. Again, I understand why it grinds you if you don't like it. But overall, I did give this match 3 stars. I think it was picture perfect for the time and a fantastic way to end WrestleMania 6, which overall, I don't want to say it was good because it really wasn't, but it also wasn't bad. There are some good matches. There are some good moments, and it is a really fun show. It really, really, really is. I overall graded this on the tier list at a C. Does that look like a C to you guys? Which is basically the midpoint, right? You've got A, B, which are really, really good, S, which is perfect, and then you have D and F, which are bad and absolute garbage, aka WCW shows in the 2000s. But I think this falls under C. I think it's average. There are some good matches. There are some bad matches. There's absolute nonsense. So that's that. Now, if you give me just a second, we will decide what we are doing next time. Okay, so I've got a list over there. We'll go in a second. We're going to roll and see what number it lands on. Is that a 7?
It's a 7.
That's a 7, which is, am I looking at it? AEW Revolution 2020, which for those of you who don't know what that is the exploding barbed wire death match. We are going from WrestleMania 6 in 1990 to an AEW show from 5 years ago. So look forward to that. And thank you everybody so much for watching. What an ending we're doing here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please recommend shows to me. I'll put them on the list. I'm going to replace Revolution with something else now. And that's what we'll do every week. We'll roll the dice and we'll pick what shows are next. If you come up with a good show, I'll put it on the list and we will see what happens. So I guess that's it. So until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT. I am very sorry that this took so long. Please, if you enjoyed this, let me know. I will try to make them a little shorter next time. And I will see you in the next one.